Coffee.
With coffee. Good
Cheers.
coffee. We're live.
Ooh. Hello world.
Hello world. This records automatically, I think. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we'll start, and we'll start by introducing ourselves. So, my name's Richard, and I'm the program manager for the EDGE co-fund Marie Sklodowska-Curie Awards, which is a program run at Trinity College in Dublin on behalf of a number of research institutes in Ireland. And I'm here with 3 of our successful fellows from last year. So I might ask you to introduce yourself and say where you moved from, because we're an incoming fellowship, where you work now, and something about your research. So who wants to go first? Ladies first.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Indrakshi. I'm the new Marie Sklodowska-Curie at Connect, School of Computer Science, Trinity College, Dublin. And I was born and brought up in India. Then I did my master's in UK and my PhD in Canada. And for the last few years, I have been living in Canada. And before coming to Ireland, I was working as a postdoc in Norway. Right now, I will be working in Dublin for the next 3 years for designing a full duplex cross-layer communication system and test its potential for maximizing end-to-end performance of machine-to-machine communication. That sounds very complicated.
Good. Josue?
Yes. My name is Josue. I'm from Mexico. I did my master's degree, undergraduate degree in Mexico. Then I moved to Ireland, where I did my PhD in Dublin City University in the area of optoelectronics. Then I had my first job as a postdoc in Sweden, Chalmers University, working with optical fibers. Then I took a break in Mexico before coming here to Ireland. And now I'm having my second postdoc being a Marie Curie Fellow. And I'm working in Trinity College, Dublin, but also collaborating with the Research Center for Networks and Communication, also known as Connect, and the Center for Research on Adaptive Nanostructures and Nanodevices, also known as CRAN, in Trinity. I'm working under the supervision of Professor John Donegan, working on prototyping a 3D components for Li-Fi technology, and all in their times.
Great.
So my name is Anna Garberov, and I originally come from Argentina, but I did my degree in Spain, in Granada, and then I did my PhD in Tarragona, in La Rovira Virgili, and I finished it up in DCU. Coincidentally, I spent 3 months writing it up, but I've worked most of my working life in the industry in localization, so translation of technical documentation and software. So what I'm doing now is trying to look at what the user thinks of machine translation, so sort of Google Translate for everyone to understand, although it's not Google, and to see if they, what is the impact of language in the user experience. And I'm in DCU Adapt, and my supervisor is Josh Markens and Sharon O'Brien.
Okay, so I should explain that we have 3 main research themes in EDGE under the broad umbrella of information and communications technology, which we have representatives from each today. So we have telecommunications and networks research, also telecommunications, but sorry, telecommunications network research, we have materials, bioengineering, and we have what we call data science and media technologies, which is the ADAPT Center. And the purpose of today then is to talk a bit about where we are with the second call for proposals, to give some tips and advice on that, and then to give an idea of what it's like to be a successful EDGE Marie Curie Fellow in Ireland, which is what we have here. So for those that are watching live, you can type questions in the chat if you have anything that we don't say. You can listen to us. If you are on our Edge website, you might want to go onto the YouTube and watch it on YouTube, and then you'll be able to participate in the chat. So I'm just going to say a bit about the current call for proposals. So the deadline is midnight on November the 1st. So just over a month away. It's always better to log into the application portal before then and get a draft application in, just in case something goes wrong with your own computer on the day. So I'd recommend you try that well ahead of time. But everything is open there. You can go and submit a proposal today if you wish. But your first action should be to contact a supervisor and agree their support. You have to do that to be eligible to apply, because if you're successful, they're going to become your manager and you're going to join your group. So it'd be a bit awkward if they weren't expecting you. So on submitting your proposal, they will be asked to confirm they support your application, and that makes it eligible. So don't waste your time by putting in something where you haven't spoken to the supervisor first. I want to mention here that our program is a co-fund action on the Marie Sklodowska-Curie, the MSCA actions, which means that while it is a fully recognized MSc fellowship program, there are a few differences compared to the normal EU-wide individual fellowships that some of you will be familiar with. And that is because some of the funding is coming from Science Foundation Ireland, which is our national state funder, and it's coming through these national research centres that we have represented here. But what that means is the technical scope of our program is limited to the information communication technology domain. And that aligns with the 3 research centres that we have. And that means the pool of supervisors and the institutes that you apply for are fixed, which means that if you are aligned and you have the right proposal to work with your supervisor, the field of competition that you're up against is smaller, even though our quality bar is just as high as the MSc individual fellowships. The other difference is, because we're operating as a program within Ireland, we take on all the training and career development activities. And instead of doing them individually, we do them as a group. So we have all the fellows together, all the 2017 fellows go through our program together over the year. And you join them and join in on that program next year in 2018, assuming you apply now and you are successful. So I'll come to you in a minute. After making contact with your supervisor, you can then develop your research idea into a proposal for a 2-year fellowship. They're all 2-year fellowships this year because our overall program is limited to a certain amount of time. So last year there were some 3-year ones available, this year it's 2 years. Depending on the supervisor, they may want you to go away and come up with the entire plan by yourself from start to finish. Or they may work with you to help you define something that aligns with something that they had planned already in their group. Either way is possible. But just remember, if it's your own plan, make sure it's something that they have the infrastructure to support when you get here. Or if you're working on it jointly with your supervisor, remember it's only you that's going to be evaluated on it during the evaluation selection process. So you should take their contribution, understand it, try and make it your own, try and align it with your own passion, your own research story as far as you can, so that it's something that you can stand up and defend. So I've got some more advice, but I might come back to it and just ask you guys if you can say something about writing a proposal, whether you approached it, whether you got help from anywhere, and any tips for prospective fellows. Do you want to start?
Yeah. So I think what I did first was obviously to contact the supervisor, that they are listed on the webpage. You know more or less your vertical. So I was, for example, in machine translation localization. So I contacted the people that are indicated there. And then I began to work with Josh and Sharon on the proposal, and they helped me a lot. Also, there was a business partner interested. So my advice would be to align those very quickly if you have them, like the business partner and your supervisor, but you are the one driving the project and the proposal. So the best thing is to propose meetings. Like I did have 3 or 4 meetings with the business partners, of course, they are very busy, but you still need to make sure that you get all the information and that they understand certain things about research and about publication. And then my supervisors was obviously more involved, and then Sharon as well, were revising the proposal and saying, yeah, well, it makes sense, or this doesn't make sense, and then you were working. But it was me who was sort of making sure that I was sending it, and because you need to work with the timeline. So I wanted to have everything ready at least 1 week before the deadline, because just in case something happens and then the internet dies and you don't have to send the application.
Yeah. So I might say on that, obviously industry participation it's important to Marie Curie program as a whole, but it's also the research centres that Science Foundation Ireland funds all work very closely with a group of industry partners. They're all very keen on, let's say, industry direct funding of research projects. So they're very keen on meeting companies in Ireland, outside Ireland, that are prepared to put money into research projects. And any conversation that you start with your supervisor, you can get the support of the industry liaison teams in each of the centres as to how to approach industry companies. I wouldn't do it yourself because you're only a prospective candidate at this stage, but if you do it through your supervisor and through the centre, then you can get a lot of useful advice about what to put into your proposal. Drakshi?
Yeah, I would like to mention here that secondment in the industry is a mandatory part of this fellowship. So whoever is applying should be aware, like, which are the companies that are doing state-of-the-art research right now in Ireland. For example, I will be working on Internet of Things. And I found out that Intel has recently opened their new Internet of Things Ignition Lab in Lexley, very close to Dublin. So that was my first choice. So I told my supervisor, Nicola, that, oh, see, Intel has this new research facilities and it will be so good for us. I can do the secondment right there. And he said, okay, I will contact them. And yeah, it worked out very well. So since we have to write about the secondment in your proposal, it's always good to have in mind and be aware, like, which companies are opening their research labs right now in Dublin or working with the state-of-art. Like Bell Labs is also working on the same area as Intel for Internet of Things. So I have two choices now, that I can go to Bell Labs as well as Intel. It depends, but just be aware of them.
And it's always very good to have flexible options. So when you get to your risk assessment part of your proposal, you might want to think about what happens if the company you work with suddenly doesn't want to work with you. Maybe their funding is cut, and do you have a backup plan? And these are things you don't have to have for definite, but as long as you've thought about it, that will reflect well in the evaluation.
Definitely. So it's important that once that you contact your supervisor, you get to know very well and all the collaboration that they have, not only in academia, but also in the industry. So you have an idea of where you can do a secondment. And then even if you haven't, at the very beginning of the proposal, determine exactly where you're going to be going, at least that you have an idea, and you have discussed that idea with your supervisor. So at some point during the fellowship, there's people in Edge that can help you, like, to really get into the company that you really want, depending on the area or the project that you might be interested in.
Yeah. Yeah, I know the industry's comment is very important. I think it's really important as a fellowship program to have a strong, ambitious research idea. If you are talking to your supervisor and you have that concept and you know you're pushing beyond the state of the art but not something unrealistic, the other things, interaction with industry, research departments, they kind of tend to fall into place and you'll get a lot of support with them.
Yeah, that I also would like to add something on that. It's not necessarily, so in the research things, it's always mentioned like you have to do 5G or maybe 6G, 7G, but it's not necessary. You can even think beyond that. And if that proposal looks viable, then I think everybody will support it.
Yes, and maybe just one work package is something very ambitious and you have something that you can fall back on that you know will succeed. And that's a good research project, because then you have whatever happens, you'll have something, but if things go well, then you...
Yeah, and always be ready with global solutions rather than application-oriented solutions.
Okay.
So if you have any question when you're developing your proposal, and there's very helpful people in Edge. For instance, we have Richard, who actually helped me personally, like get access to some journals when I need it. So whatever you need, you have to ask. Maybe they can help you with something.
I mean, the idea is we're here to support you. So I'm not involved myself in the evaluation and selection. I'm independent. So if you want to send me anything to read, you give me time. I'm happy to read it and give my own advice. My own advice might not help you, but I'm happy to give it. You should also ask your supervisor if they have time. They might be able to put you in touch with some postdoc in their group who can also review your proposal. You might talk to your friends, fellows in your own research groups and have them review your proposal, give them the evaluation criteria, and put them in the position of a reviewer and see what they come out with. There's lots of places you can get help like that, and it's a good experience for everybody, I think. And I'm sure these guys would be happy to read a couple of proposals in their spare time as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Very
open to collaboration.
Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to say on advice? Anything you wish you'd known when you were writing the proposal?
Yeah, I think you should generally, as engineers or scientists, we generally give more importance to the solution or the problem or the experimental part of the proposal, but we don't think about the impact that much. But if your proposal is equal in impact as well as the project you are proposing or the solution you are proposing, I think that is, the success rate of that proposal is much higher.
Yes, I'd also say this is a fellowship proposal, so it's an individual proposal you're putting forward that's to do with a research idea, but it's also to do with your career, where you're proposing a stage in your career that gets you to somewhere else. So everything that you're writing down, you should be thinking about, where does this take me? And did you guys consider that when you were writing? Yeah.
And also I think it's important that maybe for some people that, because this call was also for people to get back into research.
Yeah.
So if you are in the industry and you want to get back into research, this is a good way to get back into it. So it's not only that you have to be the tallest, greatest, and everything. You can also, don't feel that you don't have the qualifications.
And we're very open to non-standard research career paths. So anyone that hasn't been able to publish because they've been spending time in industry or they've been working in areas which are confidential, as long as you explain that and don't leave it as a big hole in your CV or your proposal, then we're very happy for you to come and work with us.
It doesn't have to be all academic.
No.
It can be experience in the industry.
Yeah.
And that's very valuable as well for this call, because you are looking to get back into research.
It's important that everyone is thinking about writing a project that is going to be probably innovative, very successful. But also you have to make sure that that project is doable, and you have to make sure that the place that you pick, you have to make sure that they have all facilities and equipment necessary in order to develop the project.
Yeah, and if they don't, you can suggest where you can find them, but it has to be something realistic.
Yes.
Yeah, and we're open to you putting. We talked about secondments, but if you had academic placements in other universities as part of your plan, then we can support that. You have a fixed fellowship budget, which the details are in the guide for applicants. We do have some money alongside that to support particular trips if you need to do a secondment further afield, or if you need to go and visit somewhere where there's a clear benefit to the proposal, then we can make support in that situation. So I got one more thing, which is that it is very important to read the evaluation criteria and put yourself in the position of an evaluator who has a short time to read your proposal, and make sure that they can see that you've addressed the individual points in what you've written. But please, you have to think about them in a real way. So if they're looking at, say, interdisciplinary activity, it's not enough just to say, oh, I'm going to work with Professor X because that will make my project interdisciplinary. You have to explain why that's a benefit to your project, and how, say, that will improve my research impact, or it will make it more likely to succeed. Similarly, with public engagement, how does going and engaging with the general public actually inform what you're doing now and what you're going to do in the future? So you guys are all speaking tonight on the Researchers' Night. Today is European Researchers' Day, European Night. So all you people are giving a 5-minute chat. But what do you hope to get out of that? Sorry, I put you on the spot here.
As researchers?
As researchers, yeah. Why do you feel the benefit of making a 5-minute talk to the public tonight?
In my view, research, I don't know if it's what everybody thinks, but research should always be something that is part of society and that you are giving something. Mm-hmm. Research in my opinion, again, just for research, I don't understand it. So for me, if I can share with people what we are doing and get younger people as well, younger women as well, yeah, interested in research, it fulfills my idea of what research is. So I think it's a way, I don't know if it informs my actual research, but me as a person, as a researcher.
There is a misconception about researchers, like for example, all my family members think that I'm still studying.
Yes, thank you, students. Yes, should make clear that we're all professional, yeah, researchers. Yes.
So actually, talking to the public will be like a dual-way exchange. They will, I hope, they will understand what we are trying to do if we are able to speak in a much more understandable language, as well as we would know what problems the societies are facing that are needed to be solved right now. And that's what research is all about to me. It's like solving problems that is plaguing human world right now. And we need to solve them to make it a better place for our future generations.
Yeah, also, some people believe that all the new technologies are coming directly from the different companies. But actually, people like us working in academia, we also contribute. So at the very end, even if the people only get to know about a certain technology, it's important that they know that all people involved in research is putting a little bit, yes, into that product somehow, in some way. And even us as a researcher, sometimes what we do once we have some research is just to share it sometimes through the journals to some other scientists. But it's important that we also get tell the people what exactly we are doing, how even the money that is invested by the governments in research is actually used in order to give them benefits to the society.
Yeah, I was waiting for somebody to say that, because the public are funding your research, so you should try and explain to them what you're doing with them.
Exactly.
So that they keep funding research. All right, so maybe we'll talk about living in Ireland and moving to Ireland. And we're lucky here that Josue and Anna both had previous experience of living in Ireland. So you've seen what it was like before and what it's like now, and maybe some changes. And then you only moved to Ireland 3 weeks ago. So everything is new to you. And Andrew actually has some family to bring with her. So that's a perspective you might give as well. So how is it?
For me, before this I worked in Norway, and everybody knows from the internet that Norway is one of the happiest countries to live in, because they have very good living facilities, the living standards are high, government helps in all providing health benefits and benefits for childcare. I'm a mother of a 1.5-year-old, and when I went to Norway, my baby was just 5 months. I agree with all of them that Norway is very good, all the facilities are good, but you can't read a single document from the government because everything is in Norwegian. So I had to I mean, when you just arrive in one country and you don't know the language, maybe you will learn it in the next few months.
Sure.
So there is a huge language barrier. But I came to Ireland, I understand everything.
Yeah.
What's written there, what's...
Perhaps in the next 2 years, Ireland will be the only English-speaking country in the European Union.
Yes.
So it's something to be aware of, yes.
Yes. And still there are equally good health facilities for babies. Health centers are free, so vaccinations are free, medicines are free, checkups are free. So
For children.
yes.
Yes, and there's a small fee for adults. It's a pay at the point of entry, but then after that, things are free.
Yeah. Also, Ireland is a small country, which actually it helps in terms of that. Well, you know that everything is at a close distance, and so you are like in the east side, you can go to the west side like in a couple of hours, go to the south side, and and you can actually travel just to do some research like in the different.
And you can walk everywhere in the city center.
And even in the cities, the cities in Ireland, I mean, everything is at close distance. And also the people is very friendly in Ireland, which also helps, like in the case of foreigners coming to a different country, and because that will minimize this kind of cultural shock that you might have. So it helps a lot. As also my colleague was mentioning, English is the main language here. And in research and in science and technology, English is the main language. So also that helps you use English for everything, like normal living life and also for your work. And there are many opportunities as well to engage socially, like to make friends, because being like people is very friendly, and also to get engaged like in some other social groups, like if you want to hang out, have some fun, not only working hard, but also you can do some sports. People do a lot of sport here in Ireland. And also something that is important in Ireland is that most of the headquarters of some of the international companies are based in Ireland. And that actually is going to help the people who is in this Marie Curie program in terms of if you're looking for a secondment, you can easily pick up a company. And even if you want to think about having a job in the industry after the fellowship, you have the companies here. So it's a very good place to network with people and companies.
So I lived here in the past. As they said, Irish people are very kind. Obviously, I come from Spain, Argentina, so we are probably friendlier.
Yeah.
So it depends on where you come from. And I think there is a difference between being friendly and kind. Maybe we are not very kind, but we are friendly. But people here are very accommodating to your needs, and they try to help you in any way they can. Accommodation is very expensive.
Yeah. So
that can be a bit of a shock initially. So I'm telling you now, it's very expensive for even European standards. But you have to, and even the quality sometimes of that expensive accommodation is not that high. But I mean, even though it's expensive and difficult to get, I have to say that all of us, without any special qualities, we have found accommodation within a week. So don't panic.
Yeah.
And it's possible to get something. And then the transport system in Ireland is weak compared to other. It depends on where you come from. So that means that when you're looking for accommodation, make sure that it's close to either where you are working or where you are socializing or something, because it's not very good and it's expensive as well. So for example, I'm close to the CU, and then if I want to come to town, then it's only one. Exactly.
But Dublin's quite a small city as far as capital cities go.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, the public transport, it can do with some work.
Yeah.
And we should say we have institutes in other towns and cities in Ireland, so you can work in Cork or in Limerick or in Galway. Nowhere is more than 3 hours on a train. So everywhere is within a day trip. But as an island, everything is very centered on Dublin. So Dublin is 1 million and the rest of Ireland is 3 million. So this is the way things are here. So most people will be in Dublin with a scouting of people around the country, and we have to make an effort to bring everyone together as much as we can.
Maybe we should mention also that the airport is quite active in the sense that you will find quite a number of flights to different. So it's not like you are.
Yeah, it's very well connected to the rest of the world.
Yeah,
and Dublin to the airport is the difficult step.
I'm very close to the airport, see, because I looked into that.
There's no train to the airport, so once you get there, you're fine. I should mention that Ireland has a hosting agreement scheme for researchers, which is to do with permission to work, which is something not every country has, but a few countries in Europe do it. Ireland does it. And effectively, that gives you, as an incoming researcher, permission to work in the state. But it's more than that. It also gives your spouse the right to work and your children the right to go to school without any kind of the waiting period you might normally expect if you went and got a job in a new country. So it's very good. It's fast track. So you get your contracts, and then very soon after you'll get this hosting agreement that's processed by the Irish Universities Authority here. You may still need a visa for entry depending on which country you're coming from. So we allow you as much time as you need to get that visa. But in terms of permission to work, things are very straightforward coming to Ireland.
Well, I'm from the EU, so
it's okay for the EU.
I
You had the hosting agreement.
Yes, and really, it was very good that they provide permission, residence permit for my spouse as well as for my baby at the same time. Generally, in other countries, for spouses, there is another extra 2 weeks up to 2 months of waiting to get the residence permit. I think it's
a good thing.
It's very convenient.
Do you have anything you want to say about women in science and technology in Ireland? We have about 25% female acceptance rate to the fellows last year, which is reasonably good for science and technology. We'd like it to be higher, so we want to encourage. We need more women.
We are anyway less in number in our entire community. Over the whole world.
So once we're in the selection process, everything is merit-based and open and transparent. What we'd like is more females to consider applying in the first place. So anything we can do to convince you to take part in the program.
Please do. It's actually, I would like to say this, that a career of being a researcher is very convenient for females like us. Because I'm a wife, I'm a mom of a 1.5-year-old toddler, and I managed to do work throughout my pregnancy and throughout till now without taking a single day of maternity leave. It's because I can.
I don't think we should encourage that, because you are entitled. And one thing about the EDGE program in particular is we do commit to giving you full maternity leave, even if you.
But you can.
Even if you luckily were to fall pregnant within the first week of your arriving here, we commit to giving you the full maternity leave before coming back, because we want to support mobile female researchers. Or you can just not take any time off.
Yeah. You can work in all those odd hours and flexible schedules.
Maybe I should say that because I don't come from a scientific background, but humanities, I am a translator. And there are a lot of women in humanities. I mean, don't be discouraged by your background. Maybe if you look at the verticals, there is one area where you can fit in. So they come from science. I don't, and so this is also, even though it has a scientific edge.
Yes.
Let's say.
So now you're a scientist.
So, I don't know. I am, but humanities can also be scientific. You know. And also the age concern that maybe some people might have. Am I too old to apply? That has not played a part in this selection process. It's completely, how do you say? You don't discriminate.
There's no discrimination.
And you don't even say your
in the remote peer review stage, people won't even know your name.
Exactly.
So they won't know where you're from and they won't know your name. So all they're looking at is your capabilities to do the project that you propose.
So whatever your age, your sex, your whatever, it doesn't matter. You can apply. And here in Ireland, I think gender issues, of course, they exist like everywhere in the world, but there isn't anything in particular here. On the contrary, I feel equality is quite predominant in academia. So
yeah, we just need more people coming in.
Women, please apply.
Good. We didn't get any questions. I don't know if anyone's got any from the people that are watching.
Anybody watching?
We are recording, so I know this time won't suit everybody around the world. Is there anything else you'd add today that your thoughts on the process?
I think having this Marie Curie Award is very important, not only for your personal development, but also for your career. So definitely it's important having this kind of awards.
Yeah, it's a good thing on your CV.
It's an award in your own name, so it's linked to you, which is always good as a researcher. You are very visible because people know you have this badge attached to you. You'll get all the support you need if you wanted to go on and apply for European Research Council grants, if you wanted to apply for commercialization grants, anything to continue your career after the Marie Curie Fellowship. We'll be there to help.
And also I would like to say that for me as well, a very important aspect is to meet other fellows that are very interesting people, as you can see, and to exchange. Maybe we come from completely different backgrounds in terms of research, but the mind is similar. The type of questions that people might ask about your research is very useful, and you might not have this opportunity in your countries. Yeah. So it's a very nice exchange of ideas and backgrounds. So it's a nice experience as well, not only for your future career, but for the present.
Okay. Any final words? I might wrap up. No? So I want to thank you three for your time today.
Thank you.
And good luck
Thank
with your research. And thanks for the people that logged in.
Yes.
And good luck with your applications. And goodbye.
Bye. See you.